Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something deeply personal, something many of you might be struggling with right now. You're lying in bed, the lights are off, and yet your brain is more awake than ever. The ceiling fan spins above you, humming softly, but your thoughts? Loud, unruly, unstoppable. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And, hey, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it over there? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake in the middle of the night. Again. The digital clock glares at you 3:47 a.m. You've been in bed for hours, yet your body feels untouched by rest. You sit up slowly, rubbing your eyes, your mind aching from overuse. There's a strange kind of loneliness that comes with insomnia, isn't there? Like the world is asleep and you've been accidentally left behind. You shuffle toward the kitchen, feet brushing against the wooden floor. The fridge hums and somewhere outside, a possum rustles in a tree. You pour a glass of water and stare out the window at the Sydney skyline. Quiet, distant lights blink. Other people's homes, other people's dreams. You wonder if this is what your life has become. Surviving each day just to fear the next night. Insomnia doesn't just steal sleep, it steals time, patience, and peace. Research has shown that consistent sleep deprivation can reduce brain volume over time, literally shrink it. Your focus, memory, and emotional regulation begin to warp. And yet, it's so common we treat it like a nuisance, not the danger it is. But tonight will be different, though you don't know that yet. After failing to drift off again, you decide to go for a walk. A ridiculous thing to do at 4 a.m., maybe. But the air feels less judgmental than your bed right now. You throw on a hoodie and slip out into the city that still hasn't decided whether it's asleep or awake. As your footsteps echo down a narrow laneway off Crown Street, something strange catches your eye. A soft yellow light glows from beneath a faded striped awning. A sign you've never noticed before, the Nightjar Apothecary, open. You pause. You don't remember this shop being here yesterday. Or ever, for that matter. The building looks old, but the sign looks new-ish? Or maybe just well-kept. You hesitate, then step closer, peering through the slightly fogged window. Inside, you see jars, bundles of dried herbs, flickering candles. It smells faintly of lavender and something Elseathy, mossy, unfamiliar. The bell above the door tinkles softly as you push it open. A woman sits behind the counter, mid-60s, hair like silver threads woven with shadows. She looks up at you and smiles like she's been expecting you. "Rough night?" she asks. You manage a nod. "Thought so," she says, reaching beneath the counter. She places a small glass vial in your hand. "Try this. Just a sip. Natural, of course. Nothing that'll knock you out, just something to help your body remember." You glance at the label. Midnight Bloom. The ingredients are handwritten in cursive so delicate it looks like it might disappear if you blink. Passion flower, valerian, blue skullcap. Things you vaguely recognize, and some you don't. She doesn't charge you, just smiles again. As you leave, she adds, almost as an afterthought, "Most people forget what it feels like to be sleepy. This might help you remember." You walk home with the vial tucked safely in your pocket. You don't even notice the cold. At home, you sit at the edge of your bed, twisting the cap slowly. The smell is surprisingly pleasant herbal, yes, but with a floral sweetness like honey left in the sun. You drink. Nothing happens immediately. You wait. You lie down. Your mind still whirs, but not as violently. The thoughts don't race, they float. Eventually, for the first time in weeks, you drift. The next morning surprises you. It isn't just that you slept, it's how you feel. Like you've stepped out of a fog. You blink at the sun pouring through the blinds, confused, suspicious even. Your body feels light. There's an unfamiliar clarity to your thoughts, almost like joy, though you hesitate to call it that. But you know better than to believe one night makes a miracle. So you try it again the next night, and the next. Still, the scientist in you, yes, that little skeptic voice won't be silenced. Could be placebo, could be the power of suggestion. could be desperation, or could be something else. Interestingly, while most people have heard of valerian or chamomile, many don't know that blue skulkapan herb used by Native American Hilersis thought to interact with GABA receptors in the brain, similar to how some sedatives work, but without the side effects. Yet, studies are limited, and the academic community remains divided. Some researchers argue that natural remedies are understudied because they're harder to patent, so funding gets channeled elsewhere. Others insist that without proper trials, we're just playing with pretty-smelling placebos. You find yourself somewhere between belief and suspicion. But the truth? You're sleeping again. And that, for now, is enough. The next night, you're already thinking about it by dinner. You're slicing zucchini for a stir-fry, barely aware of your hands, distracted by the tiny glass vial now sitting quietly on your kitchen counter like a secret waiting to be shared. You stare at it while the vegetables sizzle. Just one sip, right? You laugh to yourself. It's funny how quickly you go from skepticism to ritual. But then again, desperate people make fast believers. Still, there's something about it. It doesn't feel like superstition or some snake oil nonsense. It feels grounded, like you're participating in something ancient. By the time the sky turns orange and the city hums down for the evening, you've already showered, brushed your teeth, and laid out your softest t-shirt. You're ready. The second sip is slower. You let the liquid sit on your tongue. This time, you notice something else. There's a tingle, almost electric. It fades quickly, replaced by a feeling of warmth at the back of your neck. You lie down, phone turned face down, and wait. Sleep doesn't crash into you, it slides in, gentle and steady. This time, your dreams are strange. You're walking through a eucalyptus forest near Byron Bay. The air is cool. Mist wraps around the trees like silk. You hear whispers, but they're soft, not frightening, just present. You feel watched, but not judged. When you wake, you're not startled. You're rested. You sit up in bed and the room feels familiar in a new way. Light pours in from the window, the fan whirs above, and your body, your tired, overused body, feels like it remembers how to be human. You check your watch. 8:32 a.m. That's unheard of. No groggy 5 a.m. pacing. No ceiling staring at 2:15. Just sleep. Real sleep. Still, you don't tell anyone. Not yet. Instead, you find yourself drawn back to that laneway. It's later in the day, this time closer to sunset. You're not sure if she'll be there, the woman with the silver thread hair, but she is. This time, she's arranging bundles of herbs into neat stacks. She looks up and grins, not at all surprised to see you. Told you your body would remember, she says, matter of fact. You pick up one of the bundles: lavender, chamomile, lemon balm. Do you make these yourself? She nods. Grow most of them too. Some I trade for. You pause. I slept. She nods again, as though you've just told her the weather. People think sleep is something you earn, or force. But really, it's something you invite. You blink. Like a guest? Exactly. You don't buy more midnight bloom. She gives you another vial anyway. No charge, she says. Just pay attention. That night, the dream is different again. You're by the ocean, but the waves are silent. You stand on wet sand, and your breath fogs gently in front of you. There's a sensation of being held not physically, but emotionally. Like the sea knows your name. You begin to wonder, is it the herbs doing this? Or is it you? There's an odd little fact you recall from some podcast, maybe it was a sleep researcher or a neuroscientist. They said that the smell of lavender alone can trigger alpha wave activity in the brain, preparing it for rest. Not sedating, exactly just calming the electrical noise. Some researchers believe these natural signals go deeper than we understand, working not just through chemistry, but memory. Scent is tied to the limbic system, after all, emotion, safety, childhood. But others call it nonsense. There's no peer-reviewed evidence that inhaling flowers can replace melatonin. One professor scoffed in an interview you watched once. You remember it because he looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Still, some things aren't designed to be proven. Some things are simply lived. Here's something you didn't expect though. You start feeling sleepy earlier, like your internal clock is being reset without you even noticing. No more scrolling in bed until your eyes sting. No more yawns that feel fake. Your body begins to recognize when it's time to rest, and more surprisingly, it listens. By the fourth night, you start preparing earlier, not just physically, mentally. You start treating sleep like a friend you're happy to see again. The strangest part? You're less afraid of the night. You used to dread the darkness, used to associate it with restlessness, heart palpitations, that deep panic when your body wants to sleep but your brain laughs in your face. But now the night has a softness to it. Like dusk carries promise instead of punishment. You begin to notice other changes too. Your mornings are more focused. Coffee doesn't feel like life support anymore, just a pleasant ritual. You smile more. You forget where you put your keys less. A coworker even asks if you've been meditating or something. You haven't, but apparently, sleeping is a decent substitute. Here's something odd you learn through a late-night rabbit hole. People deprived of sleep over long periods can start experiencing micro-sleep-study moments where the brain essentially shuts down for 1 to 2 seconds, even while your eyes are open. Terrifying, right? And yet, so few people know it's even possible. That's how normalized exhaustion has become. But now, you feel like you've stepped out of the fog. Like someone finally opened a window in a room you didn't know was stuffy. One night, lying in bed with the window cracked open and the smell of rain drifting in, you realize something strange. You haven't thought about sleep all day. You just knew it would come. And it did. On the fifth night, something changes. You're brushing your teeth, the same as always. When you look at your reflection and hesitate, you look rested. Not radiant or anything, but like someone who hasn't been running from their own brain. Your skin is less dull. The shadows under your eyes have softened. You hold the tiny vial again, swirling its contents like wine. Is it real? That question lingers in your head as you slide into bed. You've always been the kind of person who needs proof, and honestly, this whole thing feels a little too good to be true. A mysterious sleep tonic? A woman who just hands it to you without charge? Vivid dreams and a calmer mind? It's got placebo written all over it. But placebo or not, you fall asleep. And this time, the dream is weird. You're in a greenhouse filled with giant lavender plants, but they're whispering to each other in a language you can almost understand. The sun is a deep purple. There's a cat on a bookshelf reading a novel. You feel a strange mix of peace and confusion. When you wake, you're not groggy, but you are unsettled. The skeptic inside you is loud now. You grab your phone and start researching. Passion flower, skullcap, valerian. You've heard the names tossed around in wellness blogs, but now you want science. What you find is complicated. Some studies suggest these herbs do impact GABA receptors, the same pathway used by some prescription sleeping pills. Others dismiss the evidence as inconclusive. The medical community is split. While some doctors acknowledge that herbal compounds can have real physiological effects, others say the dosages used in tonics like these are too inconsistent to trust. There's also this strange thing. No one seems to agree on why they work when they do. Some researchers propose the entourage effect where multiple plant compounds work together in ways we don't fully understand. Others argue that most natural sleep aids simply act as mild sedatives, dulling the brain just enough to nudge it towards sleep. But then you find a tidbit that sticks in your brain like a splinter. A study from the early 2000s found that expectation plays a powerful role in how sleep aids work, natural or pharmaceutical. The brain, when told it's receiving help, can actually shift into rest mode more easily. Is that what's happening to you? Are you just tricking yourself to sleep? The idea bothers you more than it should. You want it to be real, tangible, measurable, something that doesn't vanish under scrutiny. You bring it up with a friend the next day, a guy named Corey, who's studying neuropsychology. He laughs. Dude, placebo doesn't mean fake. It means your brain is doing the work because it thinks it's being supported. That's wild, not weak. You mull that over for the rest of the day. Maybe you are doing the work. Maybe the herbs are just the nudge. Or maybe they're doing more than you know. You take another sip that night, but with a new lens, curiosity instead of desperation. That night's dream? You're underwater, but breathing easily. Kelp sways above you like green curtains. Somewhere in the distance, a whale sings not lonely, but conversational. It's weird, sure, but also beautiful. You wake with the echo of that song still in your ears. Here's another odd thing you learn around this time. Humans are one of the only mammals that willingly delay sleep. Most animals, given the right environment, simply rest when they're tired. But we fight it. Light bulbs, screens, stress. We override the natural urge. It's no wonder insomnia is so widespread. And here's the kicker. Chronic sleep loss has been linked to increased risk of heart disease, weakened immune function, and even early mortality. It's not just about feeling tired, it's about survival. You begin to see your ritual not just as a novelty, but a correction, a return. Still, you're cautious. You try skipping the tonic one night to see what happens, just to test the theory. You read in bed. No sip, no scent, just routine. And surprisingly, you still fall asleep. Not as quickly, not as deeply. But you sleep. It leaves you feeling both empowered and puzzled. Maybe the tonic helped your body remember. Maybe you've created a pattern your brain now recognizes. Or maybe, just maybe, something inside you shifted when you stopped fearing the dark. One more thing. You return to the little shop a few days later, and it's closed. Not like temporarily closed. Gone. The windows are dark. The sign is gone. The door is locked. You stand there longer than you should, staring at the empty space like it might explain itself. It doesn't. Was it always temporary? Did she move? Did you hallucinate it all? You check your pocket. Still one last vial left. You hold it like a talisman. Whatever it was, dream or drug or trick of the mind, it brought you back to yourself. You're still skeptical, still logical, still you. But now, at least, you're you with sleep. You don't go looking for validation right away. But the questions start piling up in your mind like books on a desk. What exactly is in the tonic? Why is it working for me? Why now? You know you can't answer those questions on your own, not without more knowledge. So you do the thing people like you do when something extraordinary happens. You call your doctor. Dr. Anand is sharp, mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, and the kind of dry sense of humor that makes blood pressure checks oddly enjoyable. You've known him for years. She's the one who first raised concerns about your chronic fatigue and flagged your sleep issues. He's also the one who suggested cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which you tried but couldn't stick with. So when you walk into his office with a tiny glass vial in your hand, you half expect him to roll his eyes. Instead, he frowns and leans forward. What's this? You explain. The mysterious shop, the woman, the nightly drops, the strange dreams, and even stranger, calm. To his credit, he doesn't scoff. He just asks questions. Any side effects? None. Any other changes to your routine? You shake your head. He holds the vial up to the light. The liquid catches it in a way that makes it look denser than water, slightly opalescent, like morning dew. Mind if I send this to a lab? You nod, surprised by your own relief. That night, you sleep again. You don't even sip the tonic this time. Just brush your teeth, slide into bed, and let go. It's becoming a kind of magic trick, except the rabbit is your own nervous system, and it's finally coming out of the hat without a fight. The dream is subtle. You're on a bus driving through the countryside. No destination, no urgency. The hum of the engine blends with the sound of wind. You look out the window and the fields blur, but you're not trying to focus. You're just being. When you wake up, you don't even question it anymore. A week later, Dr. Anand calls. You half expect him to say the vial contained water and wishful thinking, but he sounds different, curious, maybe even excited. Okay, he says. This is unusual. He explains. The lab ran a standard GC-MS analysis, found the usual suspects: valerian root, passion flower, traces of lavender oil, but also a few alkaloids not commonly seen in over-the-counter sleep aids. One of them appears to mimic the structure of apigenin, a flavonoid known to bind to benzodiazepine receptors in the brain. Could be why it works, he says, or could be something else. You ask him if it's dangerous. No signs of toxicity at the levels you've taken, but it's not regulated. That's the part that concerns me. Still, he doesn't tell you to stop. Instead, he asks if you'd be open to participating in a small observational study. You're shocked. You want to study this? He laughs. I want to study you, and maybe learn something new. And just like that, your little midnight ritual becomes a point of academic interest. You're not a test subject exactly, but you begin keeping a journal, detailing everything: what time you sleep, what you eat before bed, whether you use the tonic, what you dream, how you feel in the morning. Within 2 weeks, patterns start to emerge. With the tonic, your sleep onset latency, the time it takes you to fall asleep, drops significantly. Your REM cycles seem longer, based on dream recall. Even your mood logs show fewer anxiety spikes during the day. Dr. Anand's eyebrows creep higher with each review. This is better than some prescription responses, he murmurs. And here's the funny thing. As the science unfolds, the magic doesn't disappear. If anything, it deepens. Because now, it's not just mystery, it's mystery being witnessed. But not everyone is convinced. One sleep researcher Dr. Anand contacts refuses to take it seriously. There's no double blind, no control group. It's anecdotal. Come back when you've got real data. Which is fair. Science demands rigor. Still, there's something satisfying about seeing a trained physician hold a pipette of your homemade miracle in a lab and not laugh it off. In one of your research spirals, you come across a study arguing that sleep is not just rest, but a kind of biological editing process where your brain cleans up unnecessary data, replays emotional memories, and consolidates learning. Without that, cognitive decline accelerates dramatically. And it makes you think, how many years did you go without truly letting your brain do its job? Now, it feels like you're finally letting it catch up. There's one last strange moment that week. You run into someone outside a bookstore, a nurse you vaguely remember from your last hospital visit years ago. She squints at you, then says, "You look different, healthier. What changed?" You smile and say, "I started sleeping." She laughs, but it's the kind of laugh people make when they don't fully believe you. And you get it. You wouldn't believe it either if you hadn't lived it. A few weeks pass, and your sleep journal grows thicker with ink and clarity. You've become a living experiment, part dreamer, part data point. But something in you shifts when the university gets involved. Dr. Anand, ever the quiet instigator, forwards your notes to a former colleague at a sleep research center in Melbourne. She's intrigued. Her name is Dr. Ivy Leong, and she specializes in the neurochemical effects of herbal compounds. She reaches out to you directly. Her voice over the phone is precise and curious. "This isn't just about sleep," she says. "You're describing alterations in mood regulation, memory retention, and possibly, though, this is speculative in neural recalibration." You pause. Neural recalibration sounds intense. "It is," she replies, "but not always bad." Soon after, they invite you in for a sleep study. You agree, half nervous, half thrilled. It feels a bit surreal walking into the lab with its white walls and machines that beep gently, as though whispering to each other. They hook you up to an EEG, monitor your breathing, your eye movement, even your skin temperature. You sleep there overnight, 2 nights in a row, one without the tonic, one with. You're wired like a robot, but still, you manage to fall asleep. Afterward, the analysis starts, and this is when things begin to shift, when your little folk remedy causes the first academic stutter. Turns out, your second night with, the tonic produced more delta wave activity than expected. Delta waves are associated with the deepest stage of sleep: restorative, body repairing, memory, consolidating rest. Most herbal compounds studied in controlled environments barely nudge this stage. But yours? Yours did something different. Dr. Leong calls it anomalously promising. You call it miraculous, but only to yourself. She asks for another sample of the tonic. You hesitate. That last vial is still unopened on your nightstand, a quiet little relic of peace, but you hand it over. In exchange, she gives you something better: insight. She shows you a breakdown of the compound's chemical profile. You don't understand every term, but a few stand out: flavonoids, terpenes, beta-caryophyllene. This last one, she points, is usually found in black pepper and hemp. It interacts with the endocannabinoid system. Some think it might play a role in emotional regulation. You blink. So, a sleep potion that speaks to my emotional brain? In theory, she says, yes. But then comes the caveat. Natural compounds aren't standard. Each batch can vary. Potency, purity, interaction. It's what makes studying them difficult. You nod slowly, absorbing this. It makes sense. This is the heart of the debate why many researchers avoid plant-based remedies entirely. Too messy. Too inconsistent. But maybe that's also what makes them beautiful. Because, here's the thing, life is inconsistent too. Maybe the answers don't always live in sterilized laboratories, but in the messy, fragrant, whispered world of plants and people. Still, others aren't as open. You share your story on a small sleep forum online. Just a simple post. Hi, I'm an insomniac or was. A sleep tonic helped me in ways I can't explain. I don't sell anything. I just wanted to share. The responses are a mix of curiosity and dismissal. Placebo. No way that's sustainable. This sounds like one of those TikTok scams. Bet you're selling a course next week. You don't blame them. There's so much noise online. So many snake oil salesmen. The modern world doesn't trust what it can't package. But a few messages come through privately. Quiet, grateful notes. One says, I tried skullcap tea after reading your post. First solid sleep in months. Thank you. Another simply says, you gave me hope. And that hits different. Hope is a strange thing. You can live without it for a while, but once it returns, you wonder how you ever breathed without it. Meanwhile, the research team is still working on isolating the compounds. They talk about future trials, proper documentation, publishing something formal. But something happens that they don't expect. One of the researchers, quiet, skeptical, the kind who wears the same sweater every day, asks if he can try the tonic himself. Just for personal interest, he mutters. You chuckle. That's how it begins, doesn't it? The folk remedy that enters the lab, and then the lab enters the folk. A strange little fact bubbles to mind. Some of the earliest sleep aids in recorded history weren't pills, but rituals, nighttime prayers, incense burning, hot milk with honey. Things meant not only to alter chemistry, but to soothe the psyche. Some researchers argue that it's not about what's in the remedy, it's about what it symbolizes. Permission to rest. A signal to the nervous system that it's safe to let go. Others push back. No, they say. Chemistry is chemistry. Molecules don't care about symbols. Maybe both are right. All you know is this. You sleep. And not just the small, shallow sleep you once accepted as the best you could get, but the kind that repairs, that dreams, that trusts. That night, you dream you're in the apothecary again. Only now, the woman with silver hair is younger. Her shop is glowing, plants growing from the walls, a cat curled around her shoulders. She says nothing, just places a warm hand on your chest. And you wake up smiling. By now, your nights are no longer battlegrounds, they're rituals. You find yourself leaning into the quiet hour, making tea, dimming the lights, letting the noise of the day fall off like old leaves. You don't even need the tonic every night anymore. Sometimes just the smell of lavender on your pillow is enough to send you drifting. But something else begins to shift. Your dreams change. They're no longer just strange, they're alive, vivid, cinematic. More than that, they feel personal. You're not just watching, you're inhabiting. Some mornings you wake with your heart racing, not from fear, but from intensity. One night, you dream you're standing in a circle of tall stones under a violet sky. The wind speaks your name in a voice made of echoes. Another night, you're in your childhood home, but every object floats just a few inches above the ground, weightless. It's not unsettling, it's peaceful, surreal. You start writing them down, filling notebook pages with scenes, feelings, fragments. There's a richness to them you never knew you were missing. They feel like memories that hadn't been born yet. It's beautiful. And it's also confusing, because the line between dream and waking life begins to blur. One morning you step into your kitchen and pause, sure for half a second that the floor should be glowing. You shake your head, laugh it off, make coffee, but something lingers. You bring it up with Dr. Leong during a follow-up call. She listens carefully, then says, "There's a theory controversial, mind you, that vivid dreaming is the brain's way of integrating unconscious emotion, that certain compounds can amplify this process." Like emotional composting? You joke. She laughs. Exactly, turning the messy stuff into something useful. She mentions studies on galantamine and mugwort plants known to induce lucid dreaming. Most aren't conclusive, but they raise intriguing questions about the purpose of dreaming itself. Some researchers argue dreams are just noisy a byproduct of memory sorting. Others believe they're crucial to psychological healing. And then there's the fringe crowd who claim that dreaming is a state of consciousness all its own, one we've barely begun to understand. You're not sure what you believe, but you know you feel better, more aligned, somehow, as if your mind is unclenching parts of itself that have been tight for years. But of course, not all the dreams are gentle. One night, you find yourself in a hallway that loops endlessly. Doors appear and disappear. You open one to see yourself asleep in bed, breathing slowly. You shut it quickly. You wake with your jaw tight and the sheets tangled. It rattles you, not in a monster, under-the-bed kind of way, but in the "what part of me was that" kind of way. You tell no one. Still, something pushes you to look deeper. You start reading books on sleep architecture, REM cycles, theta states. You fall into threads discussing DMT and the pineal gland, ancient practices of dreamwalking. It's a rabbit hole and you're willingly tumbling. That's when you stumble on the concept of liminality being between two states. Not awake, not asleep, not here, not there. A space where change happens. It clicks. That's what you've been living in, a liminal phase. Not just in your sleep, but in your life, between exhaustion and peace, between science and myth, between who you were when insomnia ruled you and whoever you're becoming now. And here's something oddly fascinating. Researchers once found that rats deprived of REM sleep started hallucinating after just a few days. The brain needs to dream. It's not optional. Take that away, and the brain starts dreaming while you're awake whether you want it to or not. You start to wonder, maybe your dreams were never the problem. Maybe they were the part trying to save you. You begin to protect them. You stop screen time 2 hours before bed. You wear a sleep mask. You listen to ambient forest sounds as you fall asleep, not because you need them, but because they feel like kindness. Your body responds like it's been waiting for this kind of care all along. And the world shifts in tiny ways. You're more patient in traffic. You find yourself laughing more, sometimes for no reason. You eat slower, hug longer. You notice birds more. You feel more awake, ironically. Dr. Anand notices too. At your next appointment, he flips through your sleep logs, nodding slowly. "Whatever this is," he says, "it's working." Then he pauses. But be careful. Sometimes when people find peace, they forget how fragile it can be. You nod. You know. Still, you've stopped fearing the dreams, even the strange ones, even the ones that feel like mirrors. Because now, even if they're wild, you know they'll come wrapped in a night of deep, full sleep. And in the morning, you'll wake up and write them down, and drink your tea, and live your day. That's all you ever wanted, really. Not perfection, just peace. And this time, it came softly. In a drop of something nameless, from a shop that vanished, in a dream you're still waking up from. It happens on a rainy Tuesday. The kind of day that usually leaves you foggy, dragging yourself through the hours like your limbs are wrapped in wet towels. Normally, a storm at night would have had you wide-eyed and staring at the ceiling, counting the seconds between thunderclaps and dreading how ruined tomorrow would feel. But not this time. You barely notice the weather. You drift off before the storm even begins. And when it crashes in, with a violent, window-rattling rumble around 2:40, 1 a.m., you don't stir, not even once. You wake to sunlight and the soft smell of petrichor through the window, the kind of clean, earthy scent that only comes after a good downpour. You feel like you've slept through a Warrenly you were never in danger. You smile without meaning to. For the first time in years, your body didn't flinch at the night. It welcomed it. That realization hits you harder than expected. Because, for a long time, sleep wasn't just something you couldn't have, it was something you feared. Not just the tossing and turning, but the space it created, the silence, the opportunity for your thoughts to unravel like threads in the dark. Insomnia isn't just about not sleeping, it's about what fills the silence in place of sleep. The worry, the memories, the spiraling. But now there's silence, and it feels like home. You talk about it in your next meeting with Dr. Leong. She listens intently, nodding slowly. There's a concept in trauma, informed therapy, she says, called somatic safety. It's when your body learns it's not in danger anymore, not just knows, but feels. You blink. That's exactly it. Sleep isn't a pill, it's a state of trust. She smiles when you say that out loud. There's something else too. Your dreams, once vivid and surreal, are beginning to soften. Still detailed, still strange, but calmer now, like your subconscious no longer feels the need to shout. One dream is just you sitting by a lake. That's it. No talking rocks, no whispering trees, just stillness. You wake up with tears on your pillow, and you're not even sure why. And you let it happen. There's a small debate stirring in your mind now whether to try recreating the tonic. You've still got your notes, some leftover herbs, a list of the ingredients that came back from the lab report. You've done some reading, watched videos of traditional extraction techniques. You even bought a tiny glass dropper set online. But part of you hesitates. Because it feels like more than just chemistry, doesn't it? There was something about that shop, about Hertha woman who gave it to you, about the timing. It felt less like a solution, and more like an invitation. Still, you experiment. You grind the herbs carefully, boil and steep them, strain them through muslin cloth, bottle them in amber glass. You store them in your fridge like sacred things. The first night you try your homemade version, you wait for disappointment. But it doesn't come. You don't dream of floating stones or violet skies, but you sleep deeply, quietly, like your body understands the rhythm now, even without a conductor. You wake with your heart beating slow, your thoughts uncoiled. It's working. It may not be the same exact potion, but the ritual, the intent, the carrots, all there. And here's a strange, beautiful fact you remember from your research spiral. The body produces its own natural sedatives. Adenosine builds up in the brain throughout the day, increasing sleep pressure. The more you trust the cycle, the better it works. The more you resist it, the more chaos it creates. Sleep isn't about shutting off. It's about allowing. That's what you're doing now, allowing. You tell Dr. Anand about your homemade batch, and he raises an eyebrow but doesn't argue. In the end, he says, if it's working, and it's safe, don't fix what isn't broken. But not everyone is so gentle. You bring it up at a dinner with some friends. Casual, just a mention. A few of them are intrigued. One says he's been struggling for months, maybe years. Another scoffs. You really think flowers and fairy dust are better than medicine? You don't argue. You just smile. Because it's not about better. It's about different, about what works. And for once, something is working. A detail you never expected. Your relationship with nighttime changes completely. You used to watch the clock at 9:30 p.m. with rising dread. Now, it feels like a doorway. A signal to begin your descent into rest. You look forward to it. And the craziest part? You're more productive during the day. Sharper, clearer. You finish projects you'd been avoiding for months. You start cooking more. You even start journaling not just for the research, but because you want to remember how this feels. You don't take the tonic every night anymore. You don't need to. But when you do, it's not desperation, it's celebration. A little reminder. A ritual. One night, weeks after the storm, you sit on your balcony, sipping chamomile tea, and you notice something strange. You can hear your own breath. Not because it's loud, but because the world around you has grown that quiet. Inside, your bed waits. The sheets are cool, the fan hums gently, and your mind is already slipping into softness. You lie down, eyes closed, and feel something you haven't in years. You feel safe. And sleep comes like a tide. The whispers start as you're checking your email. An old colleague you haven't spoken to in years sends a message titled simply, "Saw your post." You'd almost forgotten you'd mentioned the sleep tonic on that tiny wellness forum. Turns out, people talk. The message is short. "I've had insomnia since my daughter was born. Tried your method? Not sure if it's placebo, but 3 nights of real sleep. Thank you." You smile. Not because it flatters you, but because it connects you. This story that began in your bedroom is starting to ripple outward. You get more messages. A woman from Perth writes, "I recreated your recipe and had my first dream in 6 months." A teacher in Canberra says, "Started my own sleep log, didn't realize how chaotic my nights were. You've helped me notice." But not all the responses are kind. One particularly harsh comment reads, "This is pseudoscience dressed as bedtime poetry. Stop misleading people." You want to argue, but you don't. You get it. The internet is full of empty promises. People are tired of being sold natural miracles. You would have doubted you too just 6 months ago. And yet, the whispers grow. Friends of friends begin asking questions, quietly, cautiously. No one wants to say it out loud, but they're all tired, desperately tired. Not just of sleeplessness, but of the fight against it. They want what you found. Or maybe what you remembered. The most surprising message comes from Dr. Leong's assistant. "One of our interns has been trying to replicate your tonic. He added a few regional herbs. His results? Promising. Very promising." You stare at the screen, both amused and strangely moved. This little elixir born in a forgotten alleyway, passed on like a secret handshake eyes, now making its way into sterile labs and analytical minds. It's no longer just your story. Still, the skeptics remain loud. Articles start circulating on sleep blogs. The myth of the natural cure. You skim one that quotes a respected pharmacologist. "People love a story more than a solution. Sleep isn't about rituals, it's about neurochemistry." Fair? But it misses something, doesn't it? You think back to the strange woman in the apothecary, her quiet certainty. She never said this would cure you. She said, "Most people forget what it feels like to be sleepy." That's all this was. A reminder. You begin to understand, it's not the ingredients that changed everything, it's the invitation, the return to slowness, to care, to rhythm, something modern life strips away from all of us. Still, you want answers. You dig deeper. You reach out to a botanist in Tasmania who specializes in native plants. He tells you about old man's weed, peppermint gum, and even bush tomato plants traditionally used for calming, for dreaming, for clarity. None FDA approved, none rigorously studied, but deeply woven into local healing practices. You begin to see the pattern. The further you go into, what is this made of, the more you end up facing why it works, and that's not always a chemical equation. Sometimes it's cultural, sometimes emotional, sometimes intuitive. There's a term in holistic medicine you come across, entrainment. It refers to the body syncing with environmental cues like sound, temperature. But in a metaphorical sense, you think it's what's happened to you. You've become entrained to rest. You no longer fight the rhythm, you follow it. You meet someone else like you. At a wellness talk in a little bookstore, you mention your experience. Afterward, a man in his 60s approaches. Long grey beard, calloused hands, eyes that have seen too many sleepless dawns. "I did something like that back in the 80s, he says. "Different recipe, same result. I called it remembering the lullaby." You nod, both of you smiling like you're part of a secret club. A club of people who stopped trying to dominate sleep and started listening to it. Here's a fact you toss into your next conversation. Sleep isn't passive. It's one of the most metabolically active periods for the brain. Synaptic pruning, hormonal regulation, immune calibration. Your body is working harder during deep sleep than it does watching a 3-hour action movie. One of your more academic friends hears that and replies, "So sleep is basically internal spring cleaning." You grin. Exactly. Even Dr. Anand, ever the grounded professional, is beginning to soften. "This whole thing," he says over coffee, "has made me rethink some assumptions, not about the science, but about the approach." He pauses. "Maybe we need fewer prescriptions, and more conversations about why people can't let go." You nod, because you know exactly what he means. Sleep isn't a switch, it's a surrender. And surrender is something no pill can teach you. But a quiet ritual, a story, a tiny vial handed to you under warm yellow light, that might just do the trick. So you keep sharing. Not loudly, not with ads or claims or guarantees. Just stories. Just permission. And slowly, others begin sharing too. Late-night texts from strangers, emails with sleep logs, voice messages from people saying, "I forgot how good it feels to just rest." The whispers are growing. Not a movement, not a trend, just a hum, a low, collective exhale. And in the silence, sleep waits. It's a quiet evening when it finally hits you. You're not surviving sleep anymore. You're inhabiting it. You no longer brace for the night. You anticipate it. The way someone might anticipate the last chapter of a beloved book, not because they want it to end, but because they trust the ending will be soft. Your room is dim now, bathed in that familiar golden glow from a single lamp. The sheets are freshly laundered, tucked just right. The fan hums like a gentle lullaby. And outside, the city breathes its slow, tired rhythm. You lie down, hands resting loosely on your stomach, and smile. The final vial still sits on your nightstand. Not because you need it, but because it belongs there, like a symbol of where you began, of what you found, and of what you've learned to carry with you even without it. You haven't taken a drop in weeks, but your body knows the ritual. Your brain begins its quiet descent the moment you dim the lights. Your breath follows. Your heartbeat settles. You've become the very thing you once longed for, someone who trusts the night. And that trust? It changes everything. The dreams, too, have changed. They're simpler now. No more impossible architecture or whispering plants. No more messages from your subconscious screaming to be heard. Last night's dream was just a walk. Down a beach you barely remember, with someone you couldn't quite identify, laughing at something you forgot as soon as you woke. But it felt good. That laughter stayed with you, like a song caught in your coat pocket. You wake lighter these days. Not euphoric, just unburdened, and that's its own kind of miracle. A small, strange fact floats into your mind, something you read recently. The brain uses sleep to wash itself, literally. Cerebrospinal fluid pulses through it at night like a tide, clearing waste, resetting balance. A neural rinse cycle. You smile at the image. Sleep is cleansing, in more ways than one. And what you've gone through this journey, it hasn't just healed your nights, it's softened your days. You're less reactive, more grounded. You listen better. You apologize more. You take longer walks. You cook slower meals. You call your parents just to say hi. The world didn't change, but you did. And now, when people come to you quietly, cautiously, asking how you did it, you don't talk about the tonic first, or even the dreams. You talk about softness, about paying attention, about listening for the hum. You tell them, it started with sleep, but what it gave me back was life. You still don't know where that apothecary went. Sometimes, when the mood hits you, you walk the same laneway, just to check, just to see, but it's never there. Still, you think about her sometimes. The woman with silver thread hair and warm eyes. You imagine her somewhere, smiling softly, knowing she helped one more person remember something ancient. Not a cure, not a trick, just a way back. Back to rhythm, back to rest, back to trust. 300-word ending begins here. And now, as the night wraps its arms around you, everything slows. Your thoughts stretch out like cats in the sun, unhurried and heavy. Your limbs soften. The fan's gentle spin becomes a lullaby in motion. Outside, the street is quiet. The stars invisible behind a soft curtain of clouds, but you know they're there, blinking patiently. There's nothing you need to do now. Nowhere to be but here. You close your eyes, and the weight of the blankets feels like safety, like being held. Your breath evens. Your jaw unclenches. You feel your heart like a slow drum in a quiet temple. This is not escape. This is arrival. A quiet homecoming, tucked inside the space between one breath and the next. And as the sounds around you faded, the creak of the floorboards, the whisper of wind against the window, you find yourself slipping, gently, deeper, toward a place your body has always known. You don't need to remember how to get there. You already have. So let your breath guide you. Let the dark hold you, like warm water around tired shoulders. And if dreams come, let them be soft. If silence comes, let it stay. You are safe here. You are whole. You are home. And now, as the night wraps its arms around you, everything slows. There's no more rush, no more scrolling, no more wondering if you've done enough today. Because tonight, right now, none of that matters. Your body knows what to do. Let the hum of the fan, the rhythm of your breath, the faint creak of your home at rest, let it all blend into something soft, something steady, something safe. You've made it here. To this moment. To this quiet. Outside, the world continues in its busy, blinking way. But inside? Inside there is stillness. Inside there is warmth. Inside there is you. And you are enough. Let your eyes close without force. Let your thoughts drift like slow clouds over a calm sea. If one lingers, let it pass. If another returns, greet it like an old friend. Then let it go. You are not broken. You are tired. And tired things don't need to fight, they need to rest. So go ahead. Sink into the quiet like a stone settling into deep water. No rush, no effort, just gravity doing its gentle work. Let your limbs be heavy. Let your breath be slow. Let your heart beat like a lullaby you've always known. There's nothing left to fix tonight. Only the soft return to the place you were always meant to be. And if the dreams come, let them. And if they don't, that's okay too. You're here. You're safe. And sleep is already waiting.